This is Abnormal Entertainment.
Welcome everybody to the Cinema Head Cheese Podshort for The Disaster Artist. This is Kevin Moyers, and those of you that have been following us for a long time probably know that we did our very, very first podcast for Cinema Head Cheese with interviews from Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, who star in the cult movie The Room. And if you've seen The Room, you know it's Tommy Wiseau's epic film about a guy who's a little nutty and his girlfriend who is cheating on him with his best friend. And, things go kind of haywire. The acting in that movie is horrifically bad. The writing is horrifically bad. Oh, hi, Mark. Oh, hi, Denny. Oh, hi, doggy. Those kind of things go on throughout. It's just a mess of a movie, but it turned into this crazy cult phenomenon. So they came out here, got to interview Tommy Wiseau, got to interview Greg Sestero. And Greg's a normal guy. He's just a guy who, like any actor, had a dream, wanted to go to Hollywood from San Francisco and live it out. And as is shown in The Disaster Artist, he gets to do that with his friend Tommy Wiseau, who he meets in acting class. Not long after we met Tommy and Greg initially, Greg put together a book called The Disaster Artist, where he chronicled his friendship with Tommy, the making of The Room, and kind of what it's like to tour around with this cult phenomenon. I mean, it's, akin to, say, Rocky Horror. You go to midnight movies, that kind of thing. If you haven't seen it. If you have seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's just nuts. And there are certain things that go on throughout the movie, with the audience, people shouting at the screen. A lot of people who apparently shout the same things at the screen and seen it over and over again. I've only seen The Room once in this kind of environment, and that's when we interviewed the two. The Disaster Artist book was turned into a movie by James Franco, along with Dave Franco, and they play Tommy and Greg respectively. It's really weird, honestly. I went to see this movie on Christmas Day. I have seen, on 3 of the last 4 Christmases, seen a James Franco movie. Weirdly enough, I saw Why Him last year, and then 2 years ago I saw the Interview. And I gotta say, I've been thoroughly entertained every time, especially here, because having met Tommy, having seen him in I won't say a one-on-one sort of situation, but there were just 3 of us in the room and Tommy, and he was just odd, and you see his behavior in this movie. Franco spent a lot of time with Tommy to pick up the persona, the accent, which is some kind of Eastern European, even though he says, I'm from New Orleans. And it's just like, Tommy has like, his left eye is a little squinty, and Franco got that down. Even he directed the movie in Tommy's voice. He did direct this, as, Tommy directed The Room and starred in it. And so it's this very meta thing, but he stayed in character through the whole thing. And I think, honestly, there are times when I hear about people doing this, like Daniel Day-Lewis famously does. I can honestly see it being very difficult to get the accent right, to get everything, and to go back and forth between your own voice and the accent without losing it. So, it had to be very weird for people. He wasn't necessarily doing the character the whole time, it sounds like, but he was doing the voice the whole time, which is weird in itself. So, that's just the thing that it is. I have to say, I connected with it so much having met these two. And I interviewed Greg later when he was just about done with the book, about to release it, and we did about an hour together, and I released it, it's like 140 something, in this feed a couple years after we did it on a different podcast on our network. So the whole thing really is about the friendship between Greg and Tommy. You start out in San Francisco, where they meet in acting class. Greg's like 19, and his mom's like, wait, you're moving to LA with this dude who says, I'm your age, which he's clearly not. He's probably 30-something. Whatever the situation is there. I don't know his age. That's things he keeps hidden. His age, where he's actually from. Although I got a little tip to that. I'm not going to say here, because I'll let the man be. And then where his money comes from. And they allude to, in the movie, he has like this bottomless pit of money. And he won't talk about that stuff. He refuses to. And it's addressed in the movie, but he refuses to talk about it. But they get rejected left and right as actors, Tommy and Greg. And, for good reason. If you've seen The Room, neither is a great actor. And that's, just the way it is. And they decide to make their own movie. It's mostly Tommy. He does all the writing. He puts a script together. He directs it. He pays for everything, of course, because he has all this money. I mean, he gets like a real crew. People have worked on stuff that have experience and makes their lives crazy. They go into the bizarre sex scene that's in the movie that is repeated more than once in the movie. It's just the same footage. They go into like little bits and pieces, and it's just nuts, the persona of this guy. You don't really have to have seen The Room to enjoy this movie. I don't believe you do. I went to it having seen it and having met these guys. So it's a little different. I felt like there's a guy, Philip Haldeman, who plays the character Denny in The Room. And when he was portrayed on screen, the guy lives out here in Phoenix, where I live. And I feel like there was somebody in my row in the theater who knew him or was related or whatever, but who knew him somehow. Because with every Haldeman scene, they were dying laughing. They was like, there he is! And like, it's the greatest thing in the world to them. So they must have known him. I mean, again, it's possible because he lives here, but it was an experience, honestly. But you don't have to see The Room to get how crazy this is. And, I mean, I recommend it. I do recommend it because it's, again, an experience in itself. But one of the best parts of the movie is at the credits, they show the scene from the movie side by side with the recreation with Franco. And because they did recreate several scenes during the portions where they're filming the movie and stuff. And they put them side by side, and much of the time the audio even lines up perfectly, the way they recreated it. It's one of the weirdest things you'll see, but one of the greatest things you'll see if you've seen The Room. So, I did not hit her. I did not. Just, it's so goddamn great and funny. And I will say, I won't be surprised to see some kind of an Oscar nomination somewhere in here. Like, it'll be the closest Tommy Wiseau will get to an Oscar nomination. But possibly for, adapted screenplay, direction, anything. It's great. Like, my sister's seen it 3 times already. It's such a good movie and so much fun. I highly recommend it. So, go out, see the Room, see The Disaster Artist. You don't have to see The Room to get it. If you're just looking for something interesting, biopics, I love biopics anyway. Go see it. You know, it's a lot of fun. And, definitely, you know, James Franco outdid himself here. He really did. He captured Tommy Wiseau very well. So, and you know what? I'd like to see more from the Franco brothers again. And you do see familiar faces here. You see Seth Rogen, you see Paul Scheer, you see Megan Mullally and Bryan Cranston, who both played Franco's potential in-laws and Why Him. Although Cranston does play himself. I know that is one of the fictionalized scenes in the movie. There's like a scene where Greg Sestero is offered a role on Malcolm in the Middle, but that didn't happen, I guess. There was something else, but they made it a little bit more intense. You also have, oh my God, I'm blanking right now. The co-star of Glow, Mad Men, Community, and I'm totally blanking, but she plays Sestero's love interest, and she's Franco's real life, Dave Franco's real life wife, Alison Brie. Jesus Christ, couldn't pull that one out of my ass without a crowbar. But yeah, she's in there. She's great as well, and you know, for her and Dave Franco, it was comfortable and natural. They're a real life couple, so it's pretty cool. Keeping it in the family, you know what I mean? This whole movie was just people you know from other Franco films and stuff like that. It was just too fun. I enjoyed the shit out of it. Jason Mantzoukas. I'm trying to think of who else. But yeah, highly recommended. Highly recommended. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Do appreciate that. Don't forget, if you go to bunny17media.com, you can get any book there for 15% off. We will be at a couple Comic-Cons earlier in the year. We are going to be in Gila Valley in Safford, Arizona. We're going to be at the El Paso Comic-Con in El Paso, Texas. That's in April. Gila Valley is in March. And I'm working on a few others. Possibly, we're looking in California, Utah, things like that. So, things we can travel to easily to start, and we will spread across the country as time goes. So, until that point, until you can see us in another part of the country, I highly recommend you head to bunny17media.com, use the code CHC, get your 15% off of anything you buy there. I don't care if it's one audiobook or ebook or whatever. If it's a whole slew of books, you get that 15% off. And yes, you can get everything on Amazon if you choose. But we get a better percentage if you go through our site. So that's up to you, you know. And the prices are actually got a couple things a little cheaper on our website since we have a better profit margin. So you could save even more money that way. Up to you. Do what you gotta do. So anyway, thanks again. And go see The Disaster Artist and The Room, because why the hell not? And we'll see you next time.
Subscribe and download back episodes of Cinema Head Cheese the podcast, and read all of our movie reviews and news at cinemaheadcheese.com. Email us at cinemaheadcheese@yahoo.com. Search Cinema Head Cheese on Facebook and tweet us at CINHeadCheese. And for more podcasts, books, comics, blogs, and videos, head to abnormalentertainment.com.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.